more recently, I feel like an artist in a way, but like I always felt like I wasn't. Growing up, I was always heard the phrase starving artist. And I grew up fairly poor. My parents were very young when they had me. And I didn't want to be starving. Like I went through that. I did that. You know what I mean? And the camera is math. So the creative and everything I feel like I do in a way is very logical. So
Mhm.
creative to me means outside the logical realm. So I had to kind of come to terms that you can be an artist, but that logic actually makes it work.
Welcome back and happy Tuesday, turkeys. How long have we known each other? We've known each other for 2 decades. I am not apologizing for who I am or what I like or the people that I love.
How do I be a wife? How do I be a mom? And how do I be myself and all of that? You didn't see that coming, did you?
All right, well, welcome. I am so excited to be talking to you today. I've been low-key, I don't want to say stalking, but haunting your TikTok page. So
I don't know if that's better.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like I have a naturally creepy vibe. But if you want, would you introduce yourself and then tell me something you love about where you live? Because I just feel like that's a better get to know you question than tell me a fun fact.
Yeah, that's true, because I would never be able to come up with that. Okay, so my name is Candice Spears. I'm a photographer. I specialize in boudoir photography, which is about empowering women to kind of take back how they feel about themselves and their body and sensuality and all of that. I live on the border of Miami-Dade and Broward counties in South Florida. So, you know what I like about where I live right now? Like, not like the general area, but right here, is I'm on a lake. And so like
Ooh.
when I'm Scorpio, I am water. I need that. So I will sit out on my balcony with my dogs and watch the sunset. And it honestly is the most calming thing. And it's so good for me. So that's my favorite thing.
I love that. Also, fun fact, I'm a Scorpio.
Nice. What day?
Well, okay, so here's what I figured out because I went on a Nerd Alert house, do your house
Okay.
thing deep dive. I'm like
Yes.
the last Scorpio before the Sagittarius start
Mm.
because my birthday is November
Right before Thanksgiving.
22nd, but I was born at like midnight. So whichever it is that they count, the moon or the sun, whichever one it is that decides. Also, my black cat is back here. That's how it happened. I don't know.
That's cool.
Right?
One of the things I love about mine is that if you have angel numbers, like the repeating numbers, and if you see them all the time.
Yeah.
I've always had that with 1111, and it turns out I was born at 1111. Right?
I really like that.
I know. I love that.
Okay, well, we already have some similar vibes, I can tell. So I told you this a little bit before we started recording, but Kailey and I are kind of doing a creativity series, and I guess background, tiny bit of get to know me / Kayla, who can't be here today, obviously. We both work for not ourselves. So this whole podcast journey started with us just saying like we needed an outlet and wanted something that was creative. I love writing. Kayla's always been good with just like video and social media and, those kinds of editing things. And that's always been a creative tool for her. So we started this and it's just been such a fun thing to have like our little tidbit. So now that we're kind of doing this creativity series, exploring creativity, what does it mean? How can people cultivate that in their life? What is an artist? All of that good stuff. I'm haunting the social medias to, talk to people who are out there kind of doing it. And I love that it's your business and all of that. So that's kind of what inspired us to reach out and talk to different folks and just kind of see how they got there. So I read a little bit of your bio on your website, but obviously I don't know that everyone listening has. Oh, there's your baby.
He was crying to come up, so I thought I would pick him up before.
I'm a dog person.
Toby. Toby is a sweetheart. He's only 1.5.
Hi,
I have
Toby.
another one. She's sitting behind me. Yeah, Toby. Want to say hi? Okay, no licking though. You can be up here, but you can't lick. You want to sit? All right.
So I guess kind of my first question is just, did you always feel like an artist? Or did that kind of come about later?
Actually, don't feel. Okay, more recently, I feel like an artist in a way, but like I always felt like I wasn't. I was raised with an artist. My mom is a painter. She has an art degree. She has a master's degree. And so that was art. Like, and I am, as much as I have ADHD, I'm also very type A. Like I like things in order. I like things a certain way. And there was I always felt like growing up, I was always heard the phrase starving artist. And I grew up fairly poor. My parents were very young when they had me. And I didn't want to be starving. Like I went through that. I did that. You know what I mean? And so I've always kind of felt like I got into photography almost by accident, but the camera is math. So the creative and everything I feel like I do in a way is very logical. So creative to me means outside the logical realm. So I had to kind of come to terms that you can be an artist, but that logic actually makes it work, especially when other people that maybe are not creative, like okay, I can go in an art gallery with my mom, and she'll be like, "Oh my God, this is so amazing!" And I just see all these things in it, and I'm like, "Yeah, I see none of that, none." Mine works like that. Mine does not. It has to look like something for me to get it.
Yeah.
So no, I've almost never felt like an artist. I feel like I am good at capturing people and making them feel good about themselves, but I call it's an art, yes, but it doesn't feel like a lot of art. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I totally get it. That's kind of been the thing Kayla and I have been talking about, is just what even is art and creativity. And Kayla's very mathy. I guess that's the best word. Like, she gets really amped coming up with an Excel sheet and
I'm
those
with
kinds
that.
of
Yeah.
things.
I've
And
been so amped by that lately.
yes. And I identify as like a type A person. I completely understand that. So I kind of get excited about creating a process or making something organized or whatever. So part of it for us has just been like, okay, that flow state that you get in, that can kind of exist. It doesn't have to be highbrow, fancy pants art. But I also would argue what you do is the art form of seeing people, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It just, I guess, wasn't what I was taught was art. You know what I mean? Like you take art history class and things like that. It was just a totally different world. But I definitely think, especially as I'm learning to just kind of embrace what I'm good at, that it is art. And like and then it comes down to you want people to respect it as art, which is a whole nother, because people don't. Like I remember when I first started as a photographer, I got this comment from people in my own family when I was doing free work for them. They'd be like, when you're just pushing a button. Oh yeah, them fighting words. Like I don't think I talked to my brother for a while because he said something about like I would never have paid for this, and I'm like,
oh no,
I know, but it's something that a lot of people don't understand. And so for me, it was like one of the reasons that I actually live in the West Coast. One of the reasons I wanted to move to the East Coast was I felt like people in the East Coast understood art, like appreciated services and art in a different way.
Yeah. Okay.
So, we pay for things that people back in the West never even think to pay for. Maybe now I think it's maybe growing, but like I remember thinking, there's no way my parents would have paid someone to mow their lawn or walk their dog. And over here, it's like, we will pay for anything that we feel like makes our lives better. And over there, it just felt like very, like you think about wagons go west. Like we can do it all ourselves. You're just pushing a button. I can push a button, so you're not worth anything. That kind of mentality.
Yeah.
So
it's like you are pushing a button and I could push a button, but is the outcome going to look the same?
Exactly. Right.
How did you stumble into photography? Because I heard you say it wasn't intentional, or you didn't start out with this in mind.
It started as paying for books in college. Like my mom did a lot of photography. I've been growing up with, professional level cameras. She would do a lot of photography and then paint it. Do you know what I mean? Like do things with it. And so I did, you have to take so many electives, first of all. So I did electives that were darkroom. I didn't love that. It takes too long. My ADHD can't handle it. But I did like capturing people. I learned that I'm almost more of a landscape artist. I did not like that. If things don't move, I'm bored to tears. So I started doing, and then I went to a religious school. And so people go there and get engaged all the time. So I essentially would have them pay for my supplies. And this is before digital. That really ages me. But my camera was not digital, it was film. So essentially I would charge them like the cost of the film and developing plus like $100 or $200, whatever I would pay for like my next class of books. And I did a lot of those, a lot of engagement sessions for like 1920.
That is so, I love this. It's just, so you kind of stumbled into it, and then walk me through, when did it hit you that you could can like keep doing this or build a business out of it?
After I graduated, I was working corporate and hating it. It wasn't, there's just a lot of like non-flexibility, right? And, I graduated with a business degree in the end. So I had the skills I learned how to write a business plan, what are costs. And I'll be honest too, even with all that, I still did it wrong at first. Like, because I had priced myself so low that even though I was working like nuts, I was in debt. So I had to learn a lot the first couple of years. But I remember saying like, okay, if I know how to write a business plan, I also knew how to make a website. I did all these like electives and stuff. I said, I like technical. I grew up around computers. My dad's a computer science guy. I was like, I think I could make a business out of this. Yeah. So I wrote a business plan and then went, okay, let's do it. And I started with, I had experience. So I had experience mostly with couples. So I started with weddings.
Oh, that's smart. That's so smart. Did you have at any point, did you just feel like afraid to get started? Do you have more of just the intense Scorpio personality where you just push through all of that? Or
yes, absolutely. I was afraid to do it. I was afraid that I couldn't make money at it. I was always afraid of that starving artist. I have anxiety of like not being able to buy food or pay my bills. But when I started, I feel like the one smart thing I didn't quit my job. I did it on the side. I was working, the amount of hours I had to work to do both was insane. But then I would at one point, I think I asked my job, can I go part-time? And they let me. So then I worked part-time for a year. And then I finally quit when I felt like, okay, like it's either jump or, you have to do it or not do it because you can't continue to work 16, 18-hour days. Yeah, but it was more not a fear of doing it because I had been doing it, but like it just was a fear of, can I actually make a living at this, which is the hardest part for an artist, to be honest with you. There's a lot of really good artists that can't make any money. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of kind of bad artists that make lots of money because they're good at business and marketing. How well someone can convince you, it has nothing to do with their skill.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. So you did the wedding photography and you still do that, right?
Yeah, but like 4 to 5 weddings a year, mostly in New Orleans, some in Miami, but when I kind of transitioned, I was doing mostly destination and then COVID hit. And I was like, if I can survive on just Boudoir, because I've been doing both for a while, I was like, maybe I just will. And then I kind of missed it a little bit. And the wedding business, a lot of the wedding business I created was in New Orleans because that's where my friends are and stuff like that. So I just kind of kept that up. I also like the market there. Like the market for weddings in Miami is a little, I don't know how to explain it. It's like kickbacks and have a drink with me. And like, I'm not going to refer you unless you give me something. It's less about, I like you and you're good at your job and you treated my clients well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whereas in New Orleans, I feel like it's a very personal thing. Yeah, it's a hustle. It's a hustle and a performance. Like I'm not going to go out drinking multiple times a week just so that you remember who I am. I'm just not going to do it. I want to stay at home with my dogs and watch the sunset on my balcony. So
also
I've learned that that's just not my vibe.
New Orleans has got to have like just so many cool opportunities for
New Orleans is amazing. It's a hard climate too because it's like a small town. It really is a small town that you kind of walk into. I have really good family there, like family that I've chosen, but like amazing family there. And so that has helped me, but it is definitely like, it's a different market. Like I've tried to do boudoir there before and it's hard. People want it, but then don't want it. And then people book. I have several people like back before I had a setup like I do now, they like ghosted me on money after I'd already done the work. Yeah, I learned some really good lessons on how to structure my contract after that. But like, it's been kind of a learning curve, but for wedding, so it's kind of been like Miami is great for my boudoir clients. And also I love having a setup that is complete. Like I can have everything here. I have a full studio, wardrobe, hair and makeup. It's all built in. And then for weddings, I feel like the energy and vibe in New Orleans is fantastic. And just the music and the way people connect and stuff like that with interpersonal relationships. I think that really vibes that too.
Cool. So how did you get into the boudoir? Like what sparked that curiosity? How did you start going down that trail?
Went through a divorce.
Okay.
And this is not, and like, it's funny because a lot of people will contact me saying, I'm doing this because I'm going through a divorce. And I'm like, totally get it. But yeah, I went through a divorce. My ex was a wedding videographer. We were in business together. And so for the year after we broke up, we still worked together. And he had initiated it. So on top of feeling like bad about myself for someone, being rejected and all that kind of stuff, I also did not have the energy to, like I said, to go out and do the wedding marketing that he was still like, he was fine. He was still going out for seeing people, the people we had met along the way. And I couldn't do it. I was just like, I just don't want to be in that room. I don't want to answer questions. I don't want to do all that. And so I also wanted to feel better about myself. And kind of how it developed was I started photographing women kind of going through similar things and realizing how it changes. I was so naive when I was younger photographer. I thought that people only did boudoir for men. And it wasn't until I went through that process that I realized it has absolutely nothing to do with men. That honestly, the only thing I think a good man really likes about it is the fact that the person he loves is now seeing themselves the way they see them.
I love
but
that.
Really, this is for women. It builds you up. It makes you feel different. It makes you look in the mirror different. And sometimes you have to remind yourself of that. Because I was just thinking yesterday, I was crying because I was feeling fat. And I'm like, oh, look at me. I'm just like all my clients. So,
Did you have any fear or hesitation putting that side of the business out there, transitioning, putting those things on social media? Was any of that difficult for you?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But I was definitely in a period of I don't care what anybody thinks. Like most of the people I know who has cared about that, it has been like judgmental friends and family members. But at this point, like in my life, I had kind of left the judgmental people behind in a way. Like I left going to church, I left that kind of stuff. And honestly, I knew it was a little bit because like you have to explain it to people. And at the time, if you remember, I was divorced, so I was dating, and guys would ask what I do, and I'd tell them, and they immediately thought that I liked women and would have a threesome. Yes.
I was going to say, did they think that you were pretending to be a fancy porn videographer?
Yeah, there was a lot of people thought it was porn. I remember that my stepkid's mom would tell her kids, because she didn't like me, whatever, that I shoot porn. I have people to this day will call me and like say, oh, I'm looking to do a couple shoot. I'm like, okay, tell me what you're thinking. And then they'll describe something. I'm like, yeah, that's porn. So you can, no, that's okay. That's not what I do. Thanks. But yeah, and guys especially when you're dating, they're like, oh, she's kinky, she's whatever. And I'm like, oh, you're going to find out that I am not kinky enough. Unfortunately, like I like shooting it personally. So I don't know. Yeah. The assumption that I was actually bi all the time especially with men, women never thought that. I think women can appreciate other women's bodies and we appreciate beauty in other women all the time. It doesn't seem weird to us. Guys do not appreciate other guys. So it seems very weird to them.
I can see that. I can definitely see that. And I think women also understand the benefit of feeling good about yourself. The whole, women helping women and building each other up and that kind of a thing.
I think to a point, the hardest part, I still have women, like I have a client who's been to me 4 times, and her mom that she's kind of estranged with, she posted a picture that I took years ago, like for her birthday, and her mom sent her this scathing Instagram message about how disgusting that is and blah, blah, blah. And she sent it to me and said, I told her, oh, I'm going to swear. Can I swear?
Oh, no. Yeah, all the time.
She goes, I sent her a message back and told her to fuck off, and that's why I don't talk to her anymore. And I was like, all right. But sometimes women can be catty, women can be judgmental, and also we are taught that our job in life is to make other people feel good, to take care of our kids, take care of our husbands. And the amount of women, especially, I live in Miami, it's a very Latin community. There's a lot of more traditional relationships than I ever expected, but also there's chauvinistic things, there's controlling things, and this idea that men now own you. Oh, my husband said no. He doesn't want me to do it. I'm like, oh, red flag, red flag. He doesn't want you to feel good about yourself. Maybe we should consider that one. But that's how I always feel when someone tells me that, but I see it all the time. Like my husband, either that or my husband thinks it's a waste of money. My husband said no. And immediately all these bells are going off in my head of control, manipulation, like all this stuff, because I guarantee you that guy who's saying those things is also spending a lot of money on his fun things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just kind of depends.
What would be like, do you have a piece of advice as you look kind of over your career and as you've built this business, what piece of advice would you give yourself? Like if you could go back in time and just whisper in your ear, is there something that you would maybe not do different, but just something you would tell yourself?
No, things will work out. Things are going to change. Expect change. And I started over multiple times. And I think that one thing I see now, like I've been really good at like kind of moving with the times. In general, people think that I'm younger than I am because other people my age are struggling with this whole world of, what do you mean I can't just place an ad in the newspaper? And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. Like really understanding social media and branding and how things are moving and talking to people and being authentic. Like those things are hard to move for, especially as an artist. Sometimes we just want to like, our work speaks for itself. But in this day and age, it doesn't anymore. So expect change, keep moving forward, understand your costs and don't apologize for it. Because I had someone this week tell me that I was ripping people off. And this woman spent less than it costs for me to have someone in the studio. She's like, well, other people will give me so much more for this kind of money. And I'm like, well, one, no, they won't. I know like hundreds of boudoir photographers. And number two, this is everybody knows we live in a high cost of living place. Like just the cost of like everything I gave you the whole day, the makeup artist, like all this stuff. I didn't make any money in the end. So
Yeah.
you can't be like that. You can't call people robber or ripping off because just because you didn't get what you want, it really is what it comes down to. But people will say that, and my sensitivity thing, I think I was in tears for hours after that. But people don't always get it.
And it's a vulnerable thing to take something that's yours and then kind of put it out there. And
yeah, and then that is probably the hardest part. And I haven't had anybody in a long time not like their pictures, like a really long time, but there's still always that moment you show some of their pictures and you're like, what do they think? Especially if they're not like a super expressive person. Like that is hard. But for the most part, I don't feel like I feel good about like the way I did things. I don't think I would change anything. It's just like, no, it's going to be fine. No, it's going to work. If I could give advice to someone else starting out, I think what a lot of people don't do is they don't learn their craft, especially in boudoir, before doing it. And then they don't learn any business skills. And one, with business skills, if you're depending on an income, this is going to kill you, and getting in debt while you're actually working hard is going to be miserable. But on the other side, if you are saying you're a boudoir photographer, but you've never shot boudoir, the thing with boudoir photography is it's supposed to make people feel better about themselves, but there are a lot of bad photographers out there. And I've had the horror stories come in where people are like, I've done this before and I hated the pictures and I felt so bad about myself afterwards. If we can't make people feel worse. So please, please, please get really good at your craft and skills before you start doing this for women who need that boost, because we're not going the other direction, right?
Yeah. What I love about what you're saying is how passionate you are about seeing people and capturing them. Is that, do you think you've always kind of had a tilt toward just people and people connection and that kind of thing? So that's how it comes out?
Yeah, but yes, I really love people and movement and things like that. But I also tend to have, if I have a disagreement in the boudoir photography community, is that I don't believe that we show everything in the name of authenticity. You know what, for instance, I have people all the time, they're like, oh, is it asking too much if you'll retouch my pictures? I'm like, girl, I have cellulite. I don't want to look at it on a wall every day. We all have it. We all know it's there. It doesn't mean that I'm going to stare at it. Retouching is not a fake. It is simply putting makeup, which we do on our face all the time, on our body. Like there's that thing that keeps popping up on my TikTok that's like that body makeup. And I'm like, oh, I want that. No cellulite for it, like in real life. That's like Photoshop right there. And I'm like, it's the same thing. It's not that we're making you retouching into someone else. And a lot of it's also people don't realize, because a lot of people go, that doesn't look like me. Well, because you've never seen yourself in this kind of lighting. We stand in front of a mirror at the corner of our bedroom that's probably the darkest and has the worst overhead lighting, and then stand in the worst possible position and go, oh, I look terrible. Well, so would freaking supermodel stand doing that. Like everybody would. So learning that just because you can look different. I don't have to show people like there's some authentic, I don't fucking call them boudoir photographers, but photographers out there that want to be like, okay, we should celebrate the roles. And I'm like, okay, yeah, if you want to see them, sure, we can make them. Like, when I shoot, I sometimes do maternity boudoir. It's like the opposite. We're like, push out the tummy. Like, we're going to play with this. But most people don't. Most people have worked hard to be where they're at in life and just want to feel good in the skin they're in. And that is kind of our job.
That's cool. I love that.
I'm sorry.
No, don't. I'll jump on a soapbox at any time, any day without provocation. I just also really love the idea of women helping women and supporting
Mhm.
women because, like you said, we all can be catty. I am very much guilty of it. And, you know, I think the more you grow and the more you mature, you just kind of can see for what it is. It's, somebody's insecurity coming out and kind of the transference of that onto somebody else. But I love what you're saying about I'm a social worker, so I'll use social work language, but meeting someone where they are, because that's like our whole thing in our field. So if somebody likes their curves or wants to accentuate, like you said, their roles or whatever, if that's somebody's thing and they're proud of it, or some of the people I see on TikTok who are really into their armpit hair, I mean, whatever. It's
Oh, I
like
haven't seen those ones, but that's cool. I don't need to. So good.
the people that are, what is your thing? Because I think that's what's neat to hear from you as the photographer. It's like, I will accentuate what you want seen, or I'll help you mask what you're feeling self-conscious about. And I love how you described making it like a whole spa day to just like it's an element of self-care. And I never would have thought or considered how a boudoir shoot could be a self-care thing, because it totally makes sense as you say it. I also grew up in a very Christian-y vibe. So my only knowledge of boudoir photography before I saw your stuff and started, listening to your TikTok videos was the couple that waited until they were married to have sex. And then the fiance does the boudoir shoot and gives her husband the photos like the day of the wedding, or, whatever it is, the tease or whatever. And that was the only context that I'd ever heard, seen, any of that. So I started seeing your photos and I was like, well, fuck yeah, this makes way more sense. Like,
Yeah, that was me
it
too, because
just,
I grew up in that environment. And I was like,
yeah,
I always just thought that we did this for men, blah, blah, because they're visual. I remember having that conversation with brides. Well, they're visual. Fuck that they're visual. We don't care about that. I'm gonna be honest. Like, if people walk in here and go, you know what, I'm okay with when people are saying doing it as a gift, honestly, they're just using it as an excuse. Like, because sometimes it is hard to put ourselves first. It's hard to spend money on ourselves and those kind of things. And weddings and things like and anniversaries give us an excuse to say, I deserve to feel good too.
And I think, what you're saying makes sense too. When someone's in a healthy relationship, it's different than if they're not. Like,
And you
the
can
lens
tell.
can be very different of, I want to give this as a gift, but also you're kind of giving them the gift of your own confidence, because when
Because
you
when you're in a
feel
healthy
good.
relationship and a man is telling you how beautiful you are and how much they love you, the last thing they want to hear is, oh, you're just saying that, or I don't feel that way, or I know I'm so fat, because it makes them feel like you're saying they're lying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm constantly telling my best friend, you're gorgeous, and she's like, I hate my face. I'm like, hello, I'm not lying to you. It's rude. Giving, and both people in a relationship, in a healthy relationship, being secure in themselves are the best ones. You know,
Yes. Yes.
you can tell when they're unhealthy when that isn't wanted by one party or the other. My husband doesn't want me to do this and kind of thing. Because if you feel too good about yourself, you may realize you can do better. And that's their fear, because they aren't treating you well and they probably know it.
Yeah.
So you can just see the elements.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Has this been a cathartic experience for you at all? Because I feel like hearing other people's stories and helping them feel good would help me heal my own things.
All the time. I mean, that's how it started. I started doing this for other women while I was going through a divorce. And the more I was able to help them see themselves the way I see them, the less that I realized that my viewpoint might be skewed as well. Like, the more I view it, my viewpoint of myself might be skewed as well. And I have to
Yeah.
constantly battle that. And I think that's something as women we don't quite understand sometimes. Like, I have women that come in and they're like, oh, I'm completely changed. But you have to constantly remind yourself of that, because otherwise you end up in a situation, like I'm, whatever, here feeling kind of about myself. And I'm like, oh yeah, like that is just my perception. Like, that's how I feel in my skin. It doesn't mean it's fact. Feelings aren't fact. You know what I mean? Like, whether it's anxiety and all those kind of things, what we are feeling isn't necessarily truth. It's just how we're feeling. And we have to, process that. And sometimes to process that, you can't just go, I'm pretty, I'm pretty, I'm pretty. Sometimes it doesn't work. I am a person that has to prove it. Like, I'm sorry, I could say that till I'm blue in the face. Prove it. I mean, you put something on the screen, and I do same day reveals of the picture. So if I took it an hour ago and I'm showing you right now, you can't help but go, well, I guess that's true. It's right in front of me. You know what I mean? Like, it changes that perspective.
I love that. That's a good point too, is, you know, when you have those feelings to go do something different. I'm that way. It was this big aha moment for me. I had this pair of pants, and every time I put them on, I felt like I was a can of biscuits. And I was like, why do I keep putting on these stupid fucking pants?
Yes, change the pants. Same
Just
one. I
go
just
get
threw
some
them
new
out last
pants.
night.
Duh.
I'm like,
I don't know.
which pants will make me feel good? Same thing with, like, you know, everybody's talking about doing your colors. I think that's a similar thing. Like, wow, I look tired, whatever. And then you put on a color that's meant for you, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not me. Maybe it's the fact that the inanimate object is the problem, and we can just throw that inanimate object out the window.
For sure. And everyone's different. Like, I don't look good in certain colors, or certain things don't work for me. I have a long torso and short legs. Rompers are weird on my body. They're just odd. I don't like it. But who cares? Like, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. I just, maybe I find a more flattering thing to wear.
Well, and I have people that, like, so a lot of my wardrobe that I have here is bodysuit style, one pieces. And a lot of people go, oh, I can never wear a bodysuit. And I'm like, let's see. Because what I found is there is something for everybody. And it's just about cut, and it's about color, and it's about lines. And it's so different depending on your body shape. So, you know, the open mind part about this is try on something you don't like. The amount of times people come in with things they bought that think will look good, and I'm like, let's put this stuff on, and they, holy crap, I never would have picked this up. But it's just, you gotta, like, open that frame of reference of mind. Like, one of the things I see a lot with women is that we keep trying to, and this is like a soapbox moment. Okay. So, you know, like those little, like, you know, fatty areas right there that we get, like, right, you know.
Yeah.
Not fupa, we know what I mean. And we get that little line, and women don't like them. And so they put on a bathing suit, or they put on lingerie, and they try to pull the fabric down over that to cover that. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No, we have to pull it up. Why? Because visually, if you pull it down, you're creating that line across the widest part of your body. You're making your leg line shorter and your hip bigger and your waist bigger by doing it. So if you just forget about the freaking line and make your legs look long and your waist look small, it won't matter anymore.
That's so smart. See, that's another, like, art form to what you're doing, is seeing somebody else. This is just like when you're talking about, you know, counseling or something like that. You, as the person, have the things that you need, but sometimes it takes that out of body, that third party, to look in and point things out, and to look at it from a different perspective, and then to teach you to do that. So it's kind of neat. You're doing like visual therapy by showing people what they look like and what they can be and who they are. They just kind of lost sight of that because we all just get stuck in our own little tunnel vision.
Okay, so a lot of the process of getting people to see it starts before they see their pictures. It starts in the mirror when we try stuff on, and I say, you know what, I like this color, I like this, but do you see how if we have this cutting you off right here? Like, a lot of people are petite, is Miami, petite. And I'm like, I want your legs to look really, really long. And they're like, oh, I want that too. I'm like, okay, let me show you. So we try on something else, and I'm able to see. I like, see how long your leg line is. Now, before, I'm just teaching them now how to look different in the mirror. I haven't even shown them a picture. We haven't taken a picture. I say, turn around. Now look at your booty. Another thing I talk about a lot is don't do boy shorts. They're comfortable, but they make bad lines under clothes anyways. And they're terrible. They flatten your butt. Completely flatten your butt. So the curve, if you work with the curve of your butt, all of a sudden people go, I don't have a butt. And I'm like, really? You should probably look again. Like, cause it's right there. And like, how'd you do that? I'm like, I didn't do anything. You just put on a different outfit. Like, that kind of stuff. So teaching people, cause we are very, very critical, especially looking in the mirror. So we start teaching people to look at the mirror differently. Maybe we won't regress as much in our looking at ourselves, because it's not just about seeing a picture and going, well, I look good in that picture, but look in the mirror and I can see it there too.
I love that. I love that. I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know you're a very busy woman, but tell people how they can find you.
Okay,
that's
like a little bit of everywhere. I'm on Instagram as Sexy Serendipity and on TikTok as Miami Boudoir. And my website is sexyserendipity.com.
Yay. And then just if somebody's curious, if somebody's interested, but they're feeling a little hesitant or ambivalent, what would you tell them?
Start the conversation. If you go to my contact and fill it out on my website, you will automatically get a kind of guide to what a session is like and how it's going to roll, and a link to schedule a call with me. I prefer to do all details on a call because I want to know why we're doing this. What are we trying to understand about ourselves? Like that kind of stuff. And that way we can talk about it and see how you feel. And I honestly encourage you not to book someone that you don't talk to. Again, this is a very intimate art form. Ask them if you're looking at their stuff and you think it's good, but you don't see anybody that feels enough like you, ask them to show you somebody. Because if they don't have it, then don't do it. But they probably do. And I want you to feel like very, very confident. Everybody's going to feel nervous though. Do not feel like if you do all this, you're not going to. Every single person the week of their session, I'm like checking in. How do we feel? Oh, I'm so nervous, but I'm excited. Every single person says the exact same thing. So don't expect the nerves to go away. Just roll with it.
I like that. Is there any last thoughts? Any last things you want to just fling out there for people to know about Boudoir?
Not about Boudoir, but about creativity. And this is just something I've been thinking about a lot lately. So if we're all trying to find like our creative outlet, I think we are living in a time right now where you can be more creative than ever. Like ChatGPT has made me more creative because the ability to like say something and go, is this even possible? Could this happen? And they're like, yeah, it could happen. Let me teach you how. And I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
Like, I can do that. And so don't feel like creativity is locked in or that we are getting rid of creativity with AI. Use it to your advantage and find all their creative ways that you can like, to me, it's all about like you were saying, like, I love being able to solve a problem. Everything I'm doing lately, just for myself, has been about solving a problem. To give you a really quick example, I do social media for myself, obviously, but I'm also working on a couple other businesses for my friend. And you know how we all save stuff in TikTok all the time and then never go back to it? I was getting really annoyed with that because I would come up with great ideas and then lose them. Again, like I'm struggling. My brain is full. And I was talking to ChatGPT about this. I'm like, wouldn't it be great if there was some other way to do it? Like, I really think if I could just put them into like a spreadsheet somehow, but the spreadsheet would need to be like the transcription and also like a description. She's like, we can do all of that. So I now have a shortcut on my phone for each business that I'm doing social media for. And whenever I see a TikTok that I'm like, that's inspiring an idea, I go in there, I copy the link, and then I click the shortcut. The shortcut asks me for any notes about my idea. I type in my notes, and then I do nothing. And I go to my spreadsheet later and it has the link to it, the transcription, my notes on it. And then ChatGPT does a summary of the video plus my notes and my idea, like what we should do with it. And it's all there in an idea sheet in Google Sheets.
That's so cool.
But all these I would never have thought that's possible. But it's all about saying, this tiny thing is annoying me. Does it have to? Like, embrace the creativity that is the world now, that you can actually do things you couldn't do before.
Yeah, and that all worked because you followed your spark of curiosity.
Yes.
Like instead of just wondering it to yourself, now there's this tool that you can use that you can point your curiosity toward and let it help you brainstorm.
And I'm always curious. Random stuff. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. What was the other day? Like something about plants. I'm like, is there any plants I could put on my thing that get rid of the mosquitoes because I can't put citronella out there? You know what I mean? Because of my dog.
Yeah.
Apparently, yes. Lots of plants that get rid of mosquitoes. Just be curious and don't feel like this is the height of no question is a stupid question.
Yeah. And you can turn off your ChatGPT history so it doesn't even have to, you don't have to be reminded of it if you don't want to.
I guess that's true. Although it's so helpful to have it because then a week later it goes, remember when we were talking about this? I thought of something else. What if we did this? I'm constantly playing with that. One of the ones I want to do now is like, I told you, I'm not feeling kind of fluffy. I want to get my life back on track, like get back to my normal of good nutrition, but I'm not going to track stuff mouthful by mouthful anymore. So I'm working on an automation with ChatGPT where she'll just check in with me once in a while, like once a day or twice a day, and say, what'd you eat today? And I'll just describe it to her and she'll keep track and tell me how I'm doing.
That is genius.
There's so many of these.
I'm
enjoying it so much.
That is so neat.
I know.
Well, thank you. This is inspiring. This is inspiring for me. I know Kayla's going to be so excited to listen. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to just share and inspire all of us with your journey and how you got here and what your art looks like.
Thank you.
I just can't thank you enough.
Okay, lovely. It was so much fun. I totally want to do it again sometime. This is great.
You don't even say it again. I will bother you later.